He was supposed to be untouchable, a sitting governor backed by the full weight of the Democrat machine. The legacy media covered for him, the political establishment protected him, and then, without warning, Tim Walz folded. He's done, dropping out, walking away from the governor's race while investigators close in. But here's what they don't want you asking. If he did nothing wrong, then why is he running? See, this is what accountability looks like when the cover stops working. Tim Walz sat at the center of the largest fraud scandal in Minnesota history. Billions in federal funds disappeared into phantom programs while his administration looked the other way. President Trump said Walz was caught red-handed, along with Ilhan Omar and others, stealing tens of billions of dollars. You see, this is not our accusation. That is the president of the United States speaking on the record, and now Walz is abandoning ship rather than face what's coming. Let's think about what this means. The man who wanted to be vice president of the United States is now too politically toxic to run for governor of his own state. Not because of Republicans, not because of cable news, but because independent journalists on free speech platforms expose what the legacy media refused to touch. You see, when politicians abandon ship and the institutions meant to protect you collapse, who's left standing? You are. And that means being prepared. If the power went out tonight, if stores were empty tomorrow, would your family be ready? You see, most people are not. And that's why I recommend My Patriot Supply. Right now, save $100 on their 3-month emergency food kit while supplies last. Over 200 calories a day for 90 days, real meals. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks last up to 25 years. Made in the USA. No MSG, no junk. You see, politicians come and go. Your responsibility to your family does not. Go to preparewithgary.com, get prepared, and get peace of mind. But what did Walz do on his way out? What did he do? He blamed right-wing YouTubers. He accused them of breaking into daycare and demanding access to children. That is a deflection of a man with no defense left. Meanwhile, sources say Senator Amy Klobuchar met with party insiders over the weekend. A possible handoff, a political reshuffling, not accountability, containment. The machine is trying to protect itself by swapping out the damaged piece. President Trump already made it clear. Quitting does not mean escaping, because no one is above the law. 8 hours ago, Gunther Eagleman posting that a reporter pressing Walz about the massive fraud, and he lost his mind ranting about nothing other than Trump. He writes, he's livid that the truth about what he's enabled has been shown to the entire world. Minnesotans will benefit the very moment he leaves. Let's watch this moment together.
But by the 12th, we're going to have people receiving their payments. With that, I'll take some questions.
Governor, did you make the decision to end your campaign by yourself, or did you receive pressure from Democratic allies?
This is a decision that I make and make with my family. And certainly, I think, as I said, it's the right decision. I'll note, I think it's appropriate we're here today. The war that's being waged against Minnesota, you're seeing it. We have a ridiculous surge of apparently 2,000 people not coordinating with us that are for a show of the cameras. I'm going to note to all of you, today is January 6th. There's no debate what happened. The President of the United States led an insurrection against a fair election to try and overturn that and, report both sides of this. Well,
he invoked January 6th. Man, aren't they just tired? I haven't. But January 6th happened. Oh, my God.
He said he really didn't, and courts convicted 400 of them, and he pardoned them. No, he did that. He did that, and that's today. And it's clear that we also saw today he implemented 5 states are being punished with a freezing of federal funds illegally that were appropriated by Congress, our tax dollars. And I find it interesting that Minnesota, California, Illinois, and New York we're taking that. The interesting thing is the biggest fraud trial in the country is taking place in Mississippi today with $100 million of welfare fraud. And I don't believe Mississippi was on that list. So, look, this is a concerted effort to try and destroy.
Wait a minute. $100 million? Come on, that's peanuts. Walz, you're talking about $20 billion in your state. So, yeah, $100 million is bad. But $20 billion or more. Maybe that's why it's not on the radar immediately and not getting the headlines it deserves.
The president's opponents to destroy the rule of law, and it became apparent to me that he was going to do that with me being there, and I just feel, along with my family, that it's the best decision for Minnesota, and I feel very confident in that. I think it's going to be clear that Minnesotans agree with that.
Yeah, they do agree with it. Minnesota deserves and demand an immediate resignation. That's really what should happen. I agree, too. I mean, he can run away from his campaign, but what he needs to do is resign in shame.
Senator Walz knew he was going to lose. Is it because the fraud was too much to handle, or was something else perhaps in the offing here?
You've hit the nail on the head. This is not surprising. Tim Walz was going to lose. He thinks that doing this is going to get him off the hook, and the reality is it's not good enough. Minnesotans deserve and demand an immediate resignation. And honestly, to that point, Donald Trump and the DOJ should be looking at charges. This level of nonfeasance and absolute corruption cannot go unpunished.
Senator.
Oh, yeah. I believe that there will be charges. Beware, Amy Klobuchar is from Minnesota and just as involved in the fraud as Tampon Tim. Yeah, there is word that she is throwing her hat in the ring. Corrupt Amy Klobuchar kickback possible scheme to appoint Tim Walz to Senate exposed early. Amy Klobuchar is expected to run for governor of Minnesota to replace Tim Walz. Here's the time she stood in a blizzard to lecture us about the importance of Somalis to this country. That's because she's deep in the fraud, too.
Look down at them. In Minnesota, we have the biggest Somali population in the country, and we are proud of that community. A few years ago, at the height of the angry rhetoric, a Somali-American family of 4 went out to dinner right here in Minnesota. This guy walked by, he looked down at them and said, "You 4 go home. You go home to where you came from." And the little girl looked up at her mom, and she said, "Mom, I don't want to go home. You said we could eat out for dinner tonight. I don't want to eat dinner at home." You think of the innocent words of that little girl. She only knows one home, and that's our state. She only knows one home, and that's the United States of America. In Minnesota, we have the biggest Somali.
Yeah, she is pandering directly to that community that's engaged in all the fraud. Let's check in with Jesse Waters, talking about Tim Walz walking the plank, dropping out of his race. Amy Klobuchar may be taking over. Sources say Amy cooked up a deal to step in. Had a secret meeting over the weekend.
Tim Walz is finally walking the plank. He just dropped out of the race for governor.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Walz was almost a heartbeat away from the presidency, and now he can't even win re-election in his own state. But he's not saying adios just yet. The Walz family is already plotting a comeback.
I'm just getting started. I am now being let loose because of this, people. So good luck, Donald Trump and all the Republicans, because you have not seen the last of me or him, to be quite honest.
Maybe she could run with Klobuchar. Word on the street, Amy cooked up a deal to step in for Walz, to keep the governor's mansion out of Republicans' hands. They had a secret meeting Saturday and had a nice little chat. If she wins, there's going to be an open Senate seat. You know who'll need a job? Tampon. Because once he retires, he'll be broke and homeless. He doesn't own any real estate, any stocks, any bonds. He'll have to go on welfare. Too bad the pirates stole it. But Timmy doesn't look too worried. Before dropping out, he treated himself to a Last Supper.
Okay, what'd you get?
All right, Culver's. We're repping Culver's tonight. I'm just going to say this. Their mushroom and Swiss burgers are very difficult to beat. And onion rings.
Does he think dropping out gets him off the hook? He shouldn't. He's Captain Hook, and his ship's already sinking. 47's not patching up the holes. In fact, he's sending in the troops. Look at that, 2,000 of them.
This very stupid, low IQ governor, he's a very stupid man because, you know, I had a campaign against him with JD, and he's a stupid man, and he's a corrupt politician. The Somalians are ripping off our country to the tune of, looks like $19 billion, but that's only what they can find. So usually when you're looking at 19, that would mean it could be 50.
Trump's onto something. The more we discover, the worse it looks. Tim Walz is finally walking the plank. He just dropped out of the race.
President Trump had some remarks.
An example. Do you think Walz could pass a cognitive test as an example? Do you think Kamala could? I don't think Gavin could. He's got a good line of crap, but other than that, he couldn't pass. Do you think Walz...
Trump taking shots already. President Trump declaring no one's above the law as Tim Walz may resign as Minnesota governor before his term is up. Eric Doherty writes, lock the traitor up. Trump writes he was caught red-handed along with Ilhan Omar and others of his Somali friends stealing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. I feel certain the facts will come out and they will reveal a seriously unscrupulous rich group of slimeballs. Governor Walz has destroyed the state of Minnesota, but others like Governor Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul have done, in my opinion, an even more dishonest and incompetent job. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. Remember, they used to echo that all the time. While announcing his withdrawal from the governor's race, Tim Walz accuses conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers of breaking into daycares and demanding access to children.
Somali neighbors. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers.
I mean, these attacks just have no effect anymore. They really don't. It's just buzzwords just thrown out so that their base can say it was a conspiracy theory. Remember? What was the thing Hillary always used to say? A vast right-wing conspiracy? No. We're always right. We have been proven right time and time and time again.
We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to our children. We've got the President of the United States demonizing our Somali neighbors and wrongfully confiscating funds that Minnesotans rely on. It's disgusting and it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's disgusting and dangerous indeed what you've done to your state. The fact that Tim Walz's political future was ended without the help of legacy media is a testament to the strength of free speech platforms like X. Investigative journalism no longer lives exclusively in newsrooms. It lives on social media where the truth cannot be buried. Wesley Hunt with Benny Johnson.
All this crap, even though, and the fact that we have been able to end this guy's career without the help of legacy media is what this country is all about. This is why Elon Musk bought Twitter. This is why we have people like you that are fighting the good fight. This is why we have investigative journalists that are willing to go to social media and expose all this crap, even though CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of them are never going to cover it. We were still able to get justice to get this guy to not run for re-election. Now, obviously, I want to see the next step here because this goes deep, and there's a reason why he's resigning. This is just the very tip of the iceberg. You are right. Democrats don't ever resign. But where there is smoke, there's a 5-alarm fire here. This is just the beginning. We need to continue to dig. We need to get to the bottom of this. I sit on the House Judiciary Committee. This has got to be exposed. And again, this is kind of the beginning of the cratering of the Democrat Party. And this is the beginning of the America First movement, putting enough pressure on them without the help of legacy media to get this done. And the fact that we have been able to end this.
This is the beginning. Folks, we're at the very, see, we've been tracking this for weeks, but again, this is only the start of it as this complete insanity unravels. Elon Musk says, and so we bid adieu, or whatever they say in Somali, to Traitor Tim. Tim Walz has dropped out of the Minnesota race. Elon Musk weighing in. It's official. Tim Walz drops out. Plagued by Somali fraud, exposed by independent journalists like Nick Shirley. FAFO, Tim, it's about time. Good riddance. Now lock up the traitor. And of course, here he had the gall to pin the fraud on white people instead of taking accountability for what the Somalis have done. He can't leave office soon enough.
My whole damn life. So this is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. That's never happened once in my whole damn life. And I think everybody in this room knows what they're doing. So we're here today to say enough of this. We're here today to stand that Minnesota will protect their neighbors. So,
yeah. Listen to him, man. Just throwing out those dog whistles for his people. Governor Tim Walz announced he's dropping out of the governor's race and mentions Nick Shirley in his statement. Really? I won't mince words here. Trump and his allies in Washington and St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder and meaner place. We got conspiracy theorists, right-wing YouTubers breaking into daycare centers, demanding access to our children. This is his full statement. I'm not even going to entertain it. But Tim Walz is out, and he will not seek re-election.
Tim Walz, who, of course, was the Democratic nominee for vice president in 2024, has ended his re-election bid for governor. He is not going to run for re-election. This comes as pressure has been growing around this widening welfare fraud scandal. Now, Walz has not been accused of any wrongdoing, but it has been a growing political headache. Let's get right to CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent.
Nah, let's not. So Elon Musk responded with 3 words, and so we bid adieu. Congressman Wesley Hunt said this moment proves investigative journalism no longer lives in the newsroom. It lives on social media where the truth cannot be buried. Tim Walz is not stepping aside because he wants to. He's stepping aside because he has no choice. See, the fraud was too big, the receipts were too public, and the president made clear the investigation doesn't stop because he quit. So let that sink in. Tim Walz stood on a debate stage and asked America to trust him with the vice presidency. Now he cannot even trust Minnesota voters to reelect him as governor. See, that's not spin. That is called collapse. Independent journalists did what the New York Times refused to do. They just followed the money. They exposed the fraud. They held power accountable, and now the sitting governor is walking away rather than face the consequences. President Trump said no one's above the law. Walz just proved he believes it. But walking away is not justice because the investigation must continue. They must trace the money, and everyone involved must answer for what happened to those billions. So here's my question for the chat. Should Tim Walz face criminal charges? Yes or no? Let's have a conversation in the comments below. And grab your gear at the Next News merch shop, linked in the description.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.